what I know for sure is that speaking your truth is the most powerful tool we all have.
I've had rainbows in my clouds, and the thing to do, it seems to me, is to prepare yourself so that you can be a rainbow in somebody else's cloud.
We all really, really love one another. Deep down, we all love one another, and we need to get back to that.
Hi, welcome to the Authentically You podcast. I'm Dr. Julie Ducharme, and we are back for another episode, and I'm really excited today because I'm getting to bring back a lot of women that I got to talk to a couple years ago, and looking at what they've been doing is just amazing. So I'm really excited today to have Kirstie Ennis here with us. Kirstie, thanks so much for being on the show.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks for bringing me back.
Well, as we talked about, I think last time was right around summer 2017. I can't believe it's been that long because I feel like it was just yesterday. I mean, I follow you on all your stuff that you're doing, your videos, your climbing mountains. And so I went to your website and I made this list of what you've done since we last chatted. And I know you're a very humble person, but I just think it's really awesome what you're doing. And I want to share it with our listeners who may be thinking like, what can I do? How can I start something like this? And so last time we talked, it was right around when you'd done the cover for ESPN, which was epic. And then I saw on your list here, you've launched a t-shirt line. And what is that line called?
The t-shirt line's Head Case. Okay.
And then it says you completed Everest Base Camp. So can you tell me just for a second, what exactly does that mean when you completed Base Camp?
Yes. So 2017 was really, I guess kind of the spark, if you will, for my entire Climbing for a Cause initiative. That's kind of when I decided that I was going to climb the highest peak on each of the 7 continents, with the highest point in Africa called Kilimanjaro. And then that led me to Carstens in 2017 as well, which is the highest point in Oceania. So that's 2 of the 7 right there. And then in November of 2017, I decided that I needed to go to Nepal and kind of get a feel for what Everest was, obviously the highest point in Asia. And that track was really going to be the defining moment as to if I thought that the 7 summits was really possible and if it was really possible or feasible for me to make it to the highest point in the world.
Yeah, that's amazing. Now, tell me how I say this right, because it said you attempted to climb, is it Cotopaxi? Am I saying that totally wrong? In Ecuador?
No, you're good. Yeah, so back in, 2018, I attempted Cotopaxi down in Ecuador, and it was kind of just a training climb to really get my feet underneath me for some of the bigger climbs that I was going to do. But I actually reattempted it.
Awesome. I love it. And then somewhere in between all this climbing, you had time to get a master's degree in public admin, which I keep thinking to myself, when did you have time for that? And then you also recently received the Pat Tillman Award, which I was so excited to watch you get that on TV. That was so amazing to see that. And I think well-deserved for all your efforts, because everything you do, you're fundraising. You're trying to give back to someone else. So you're not just doing this like to say that you can climb it. You're doing it and then raising funds and giving to different organizations. And do you mind mentioning some of those different nonprofits that you support?
Yeah, for sure. So back in 2018, I actually created my nonprofit, the Kirstie Ennis Foundation. So we are a 501c3. We're 100% volunteer-based, and a few of the pillars that basically incorporate to be able to support others and improve the quality of life for others is we financially support other deserving nonprofits. So we help nonprofits worldwide. Many of the which that we help stateside are veteran nonprofits, but most of the other ones that we support in other countries are actually those serving the disabled. Mm-hmm. And then through my foundation, we also provide education, opportunity, and healing in the outdoors.
That's awesome. I love that so much. And we'll mention this throughout the podcast for those of you listening. But you can go to the KirstieEnnisFoundation.com. We'll put it in also the podcast. So if you're like, hey, I'm driving and listening to this, don't worry. You can go to that link anytime. During this time, being outdoors has really become really important to me and a lot of people in this shutdown. I've never rode my bike so much with my children, hiked so much with my children, just anything we can do to get outside. And, I'm curious if that is going to spark some interest in other people who maybe didn't have time until now to really start exploring the outdoors.
Yeah, honestly, I hope that I mean, I don't want to call it downtime because it's certainly not what it is. I know people are still working. They're still giving that time to their families and the relationships that they should be coddling. But I do hope that if there is some spare time, people take 30 minutes just to get outside and appreciate what the world has to offer us. I can totally say that the outdoors saved my life. A little bit of backstory to me. I was hurt in Afghanistan after 6 years in the Marine Corps, 2 deployments to Afghanistan. I lost my leg, had a traumatic brain injury. I mean, and the laundry list of injuries goes on. And the whole reason that I was able to find myself again and figure out what my purpose for the rest of my life was going to be was because of the outdoors. So I wholeheartedly encourage everybody to take a step outside, try something new, because A, it can give you the confidence to try anything else in whatever other aspect of your life. But even more importantly, it can really kind of ground you and get you back to the things that actually are important. All too often, especially when we do have this ample amount of time, we're sitting behind our screens. We're worrying about things that don't really matter, or more importantly, the things that we don't have control over. So I think separating ourselves from that life that does totally distract us and making us present and making ourselves be mindful in the outdoors can really give us that time out from this mandatory time out that we have right now.
Yeah, I agree. And I saw on your website, one of your mantras is show the world we control our circumstances and that they do not control us. And what you're saying really hits me because, as a business owner, all my businesses are shut down. They're very much face-to-face businesses that can't be moved online. And I've had them for close to 18 years. And so when that happened, it was this really strange kind of event in my life because it was like we never shut down for 9/11. We didn't shut down for massive fires. We have been open. We've never shut down. We've done everything we can to, change and do things when people needed help. And so when this happened, it was kind of like, I was explaining to my husband, like a grieving process, because you're like, this is part of my world and it's gone right now. And so I really had to rethink that. And your mantra is really like, okay, I can't control that in my life right now, but what can I do? What can I control? And, one of my things was I started calling friends saying, how can I help? What can I do for you? And I know that really took me out of my kind of moment of boohoo for me because my businesses were shut down, and we've worked with different groups to help get food to hospitals and masks and different things. And I'm really finding that in this moment where, people they've lost their jobs, they don't have money, they're trying to figure out how to put food on the table, that, investing in other people is a great way to help, take away from those moments where you're kind of trying to figure out what to do. And, I love what you're doing, and you're no stranger to struggles. And what I love what you do, and like I said, you're extremely humble, but I'm going to brag on you for a moment, is, you're climbing mountains essentially with one leg, you have your prosthetic, but a lot of times I will think about something that is difficult for me, and I will think about you and I'll go, I have no excuses. I have no excuses because Kirstie is out there climbing mountains that I couldn't climb with 2 legs. And it inspires me. And so, I just always think about, I love that you're giving back, and when we talk about right now about giving back, I know that your organization is working to fundraise so you can give back. Let's talk about that for a moment. What can people do? How can they donate to you? How can they support you so then you can support those businesses?
Yeah, definitely. So if anybody wants to look into what we're doing with my foundation, it's a pretty simple website. It's just KirstieEnnisFoundation.com, or you can follow along on Facebook or social media, or Instagram rather. It's just Kirstie Ennis Foundation, and the same goes for me. If you want to follow along with what I'm doing with my clients, it's just Kirstie Ennis, and anything is appreciated. Even if you can't donate, just getting our message out there, it means the world to us.
And I see so far you've raised $2,400, and you're attempting to raise $10,000. With giving, was it $1,000 per business, so you could scholarship 10 businesses? Do I have that right?
Yeah, so one of the specific things that we're doing is we're trying to raise money based off of what our current situation is in our country. So obviously COVID-19 has had some serious impacts on small businesses and nonprofits. Obviously nonprofits are near and dear to my heart. So what we're trying to do through our exclusive fundraiser is raise $10,000 so that way we can give away 10 $1,000 grants.
That's awesome. And a lot of times people think, oh, $1,000 isn't a lot. $1,000 is a lot in this time frame. That might help someone keep their business afloat. It might help put food on their table. But being an entrepreneur, a sole proprietor, and then also I own an LLC and another company. When you're an entrepreneur, you live and die by your businesses. And a lot of entrepreneurs as well right now are finding out that their insurance that says that it has disruption insurance is not covering for a pandemic. So a lot of businesses who thought they had insurance that covers this are not covered. So they're scrambling again to, figure out what to do. So, you being no stranger to struggle, and fighting through that, finding so many avenues to, really get back out there. I know a lot of people right now, whether it be business people, parents, grandparents, they're struggling. And if you could offer some advice for them in this time frame, what would maybe some things that you could offer to them?
Yeah, definitely. So, even if whether it's an individual or even just a business, I think the main thing is to keep at the forefront of all of your thoughts is you don't even know what you're capable of yet. I think all too often we undermine what our resiliency really is. And so I think the biggest thing that we can do is stay the course. That goes with, keeping your head and your heart in the right place. But even more so, just for businesses, stay relevant. Because right now the knee-jerk reaction is to pull out, maybe kind of be hesitant, hang on to your reserves as much as you can. But right now, this is actually kind of an opportune time to stay at the forefront of things. To stay in people's faces and say, hey, we are still here. This is your time to be creative. This is your time to be involved with your community. Because the reality is if you give to your community, when you come out of this, your community is going to give back to you. So I think the big thing from all of this is, again, just stay resilient. Remind yourself that you have no idea what you're capable of, and then just continue giving back. I'm a firm believer in the fact that if you give, it's going to come back to you.
Absolutely. And I love that because, I think what will be really interesting when all this blows over is that I think we're going to see some pretty amazing companies emerge. I think we're going to see people coming up with ideas that never would have happened if this hadn't have happened. And, everything from the medical industry to small businesses are figuring out how to streamline their business, how to change things up. I've already seen a couple companies that I'm like, wow, I can't believe you guys figured that out over the last couple of weeks and have flipped your business. One group in particular I'm working with, they do lotions and all this stuff, and they suddenly started making hand sanitizer. And they're selling out.
Yeah.
They're selling. This is a lotion company, that does lotions and all natural things, and they're really great. And so we had a chat yesterday, and I'm like, how's it going? How are you guys doing? They're like, actually, we're doing great. We started making hand sanitizer, and we're selling out. And I'm like, that's fantastic. And so, they thought, well, we may not be selling lotions and all these other things right now, but people want hand sanitizer. And so this little small company figured out how to get supplies when there were no supplies available. And they literally are making it in, a small little place at home and shipping it. It's just amazing. And so they said to me, we wouldn't have thought of this if this hadn't have happened. And so now they've got a whole hand sanitizer line. So yeah. I love that you say you don't know what you're capable of, because sometimes we don't. I agree with this because sometimes we don't know what we're capable of until we get pushed in a corner and we have, we don't have a lot of options. And maybe what we were too fearful to try and do before, we will do now because what do we have to lose,
That's it.
And so I love that. So just want to tell our listeners one more time, guys, if you are looking to donate and support, I know there's lots of great groups out there, but I'm a big founder of Kirstie and everything she's doing. So the KirstieEnnisFoundation.com, we'll put that info in there. So you can definitely go to the link on this and you'll find it all throughout our social media, on our podcast page and so forth. And you guys can actually go to her Facebook page, which it is under, I know you have a couple of Facebook pages. Which one is the donation one under?
It's the Kirstie Ennis Foundation.
Okay, so the Kirstie Ennis Foundation one. You guys can go in there and it's so easy. And I just got to it. And you can literally just click on a button and donate right there. The biggest thing for those of you listening who may be struggling, this is going to end soon, right, Kirstie? this isn't going to last forever. And, I think we need to remember that we keep supporting people. We keep doing what we're doing. And as you mentioned, giving as a company, what we decided to do for our company, guys, is we just told our community, whatever you need, you can have it for free. Just tell us. And I have dropped off some of the craziest things so kids could have birthdays at home. And, I just said, people try to pay, and I said, keep your money. We don't want it. We want you guys to have a good time with your children. And we'll figure this out when it's all said and done. So, I think that it's great, and whatever you guys can do. And any last words, Kirstie, before we close on out? I know we've got all the websites. Any new projects or trips that may be coming up when this is all said and done? Any new mountains you're going to be climbing?
Yeah, well, unfortunately, my climb that was supposed to be happening in May got canceled for the obvious, but hopefully, fingers crossed, in December 2020, I'll actually be headed down to Antarctica to climb the highest point down there, so Mount Vinson, and God willing, I will be the first amputee to ever snowboard it, and then I intend to go to the last degree, or do the last degree, which is the South Pole. Wow. So yeah, keep us in your thoughts and prayers with that, and then it'll be good.
Oh, girl, Antarctica. I'm a SoCal girl, so man, it's gonna be chilly up there. Well, we will definitely do that, and as you put your progress out, I'll definitely be sharing that for everyone. So thank you so much for being on the show, and we'll just close out what I always say: live, love, laugh, and always be your authentic self.